My name is Jim Pinkoski. I worked with Ron Wyatt for the last 10 years of his life. I managed Ron's museum. I illustrated a lot of his materials. And we've done a couple other talks that we're going to post on YouTube. And this is the first time I posted anything on YouTube. It is July 2021 right now. And I've waited a long time to do this because I've been waiting to see what things would develop in a lot of areas regarding Ron's discoveries and other things. Now, as you might guess, there are some people out there that I would like to talk with. I have a list of 7 people who I'm going to name, whom I'd like to have them contact me so we can get together and either, record a debate to put on YouTube, or it can be a private talk, whatever. Here are the 7 names: Ron Reagan Jr., Dan Barker, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye and Ken Ham, John Gurche and Mark Schultz. Now let me explain who those people are. Ron Reagan Jr. and Dan Barker are confirmed atheists. Dan Barker is co-president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation for Atheists, and he says he's done over 120 debates with various creationists and all that. He used to be a pastor. Back in 1984, he decided to leave the church and he became an atheist because he lost faith in the Bible and in God. He had this idea that there was no proof for these things that are in Scripture. Well, Dan, you and I need to get together, and I need to show you and discuss Ron Wyatt's discoveries, because every one of them verify those Old Testament stories. Ron found the remains of Noah's Ark, Sodom and Gomorrah, the Red Sea crossing site, the real Mount Sinai, Joseph's grain bins, the Ark of the Covenant. Back in 1994, I managed Ron's first museum for 2.5 years. It used to be in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's not there, it's closed down. Unfortunately, I can't invite you over to see the place. But you can see Ron's discoveries online. There's a lot of things online. But you need to talk to me about the details of it, because I think you'll be very surprised to find out that there is surfacing a lot of scientific evidence and proof for the things that are in the Bible. And God's doing this to help people build their faith. And you really need that. Now, next on the list, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is one fun guy. Neil's just interviewed on TV all over the place, talking about the stars and the universe and astronomy and all that stuff. Well, I'd like to get together with you too, Neil, so we can talk about some of the science stuff that actually proves that God exists. You have to have heard about some of these scientists who used to be evolutionists, then found out that it just doesn't work without God. And they became creationists. But they were pure scientists beforehand. I want to hear what you think about these guys. I want you to see all of Ron Wyatt's discoveries and discuss a few other things. Now, interestingly enough, back in your early days, you had contact with Carl Sagan. So did I. Back in 1987 or so, when I was living in Washington, D.C., I got a freelance job doing cartoons for Carl Sagan's Space Watch newsletter. They put on a huge debate that was held in a giant auditorium 1 block from the U.S. Capitol building. I was in attendance because I worked with the magazine. I had a front row seat for the debate, and afterwards I had a chance to meet Carl Sagan. I had him autograph one of my cartoons, and I also gave him a copy of my prophecies book that I had done, and Carl told me, I shall read this. And I believe that he did. So we got some things, to talk about. And, we were both there admiring what Carl Sagan did. Next 2 names on the list, Bill Nye and Ken Ham. They've gotten together to do certain debates about God in the Bible. Ken Ham runs the Ark Encounter theme park that's been built in Kentucky, which has a life-size model of Noah's Ark there. Now, Ken Ham's Answers magazine here was published in 2017, and the gist of the entire article is that Noah's Ark will never be found on Mount Ararat in the ice, because Ararat is a 17,000 foot tall volcanic mountain that gained that height after the flood. So why are we still arguing, debating, and looking for Noah's Ark up on Mount Ararat ever? Everybody on the planet should just say, nope, that's it. It's not there. Ron Wyatt's site is on a shorter sister mountain about 12 to 15 miles south of Ararat at about 6,200 feet above sea level. And it's been scientifically proven that it's the remains of Noah's Ark. The Turkish government even built a visitor center overlooking the site. But here, 20 years after Ron passed away, other people have gone out there and uncovered further proof that it's the remains of Noah's Ark. The latest being subsurface 3D radar scans that show a boat formation underneath the surface. See, it seems with you folks, you've really gotten upset over the idea that this site just looks geologic. Well, the thing is, the ruined structure of what was left over the framing of Noah's Ark was washed down the mountain in a mud and lava flow and covered up with lava and dirt. So yes, you're going to see a lot of dirt. But the thing is that I just can't understand, you've got that Ark Encounter thing, and yet you don't agree with Ron Wyatt's Noah's Ark site as being the real remains of Noah's Ark. You and I, we need to discuss that, because I need to see if you're up to date with understanding all the evidence that's been brought together. And I'd actually like to see a display done at your Ark Encounter Park of Ron Wyatt's material. People need to see this. It needs to be out in the open. It needs to be discussed, because Ron Wyatt's site is the one and only site on the planet that's showing proof that it is the remains of Noah's Ark. And we need to share this with the world. Bill Nye, another scientist person, I'd love to also talk with him to see what he thinks about all the scientists who've become creationists. And you can't shrug off these people. They're honestly studying their science, and they've honestly come to the conclusion that God's real. So why can't you see it? We need to talk. The last 2 names on the list, John Gurche and Mark Schultz, these are dinosaur artists. John Gurche works for the Natural History Museum folks. I've studied and admired his work for decades. One of the greatest dinosaur artists in that. We actually had a brief talk on the phone about a month or 2 ago, but I told him about Ron Wyatt's Noah's Ark discovery. And I told him where to find it. Hopefully he's had time to look it up. but he never got back to me. I feel like the conversation's incomplete. We need to get together and talk about this stuff. Mark Schultz is another dinosaur artist. I sent him a whole lot of samples of my art because we're both cartoonists. We both grew up reading and collecting certain comics in the 60s and that, and love all the same stuff pretty much. But I sent him a batch of my stuff and basically hinted that I was a creationist. And then I never heard from him. So Mark, hey, let's get together, contact me. Let's talk. We can talk privately if you don't want it done in public. But you know, back in 1997, I did my dinosaur book talking about creationism and evolution, to compare the two belief systems to see how they line up in that. You haven't seen this book. I'd like for you and I to get together and discuss it. It's studying honest science and that. But these are 7 people whom I would like to have contact me, and hopefully we can get together and talk about some very serious things. So I thank you for your time. You know where to find me. Let's do it. Thank you.